Hello everyone. I don't know about you, but Miss Burke had a really tough weekend. And I just wanted to remind you that even though it might be hard right now, being at home, we're all getting through it together and it's going to be over before you know it. With that being said, let's get done our math activity for today. So we are on week 4. Wow, week 4 of Packet Learning. And we're going to do the first bullet point. This is one of the activities that we have seen multiple times, so I'm going to go through it really quick today, and you're going to have to do a lot of the work on your own. So our bullet point says, use the numbers 4, 2, 7, 0, 1, 6. And remember, those are also called digits. That was one of our vocab words, digits. First, write the greatest number you can make using all the digits. Is the number you made even or odd? How do you know? Write the smallest number you can make using all the digits. Is the number you made even or odd? How do you know? What is the difference, subtract, between the greatest and smallest numbers you made? What is the sum of them? What is the greatest decimal you can make? What is the smallest decimal you can make? What is 1,000 less than the greatest and smallest numbers you made? What is 1,000 more than the greatest and smallest numbers you made? What is 10,000 more than the greatest and smallest numbers you made? And what is 10,000 less than the greatest and smallest numbers you made? So that is an extremely long problem. There are many parts. We're going to start making the largest and smallest numbers we can using our digits. So again, we have 6 digits, so we're going to start with our place value chart. And we're going to place our numbers in here to make the largest number possible and the smallest number possible. Then we need to decide if they're even or odd numbers. We already did this multiple times, so I want you to pause the video and come up with the biggest and smallest numbers by yourself, and then check back in once you have those 2 numbers. Okay, let's go over the answers. So here are my largest and smallest numbers. My largest number is 764,210. And let me go in and put a comma in this number. Our comma should go in between the thousands and hundreds place. So again, we have 764,210. See how I started with the largest digit and then went down to the smallest digit. And our smallest number would actually have the 0 here, which means there's no 100,000s. So this number is 12,467. And again, we go from the smallest digit to the largest digit in order to get our smallest number possible. It then asks, are these numbers even or odd? Remember, if we want to know if it's even or odd, we look in the ones place. So in our ones place, we have a 0, and then we have a 7. If our ones place is a multiple of 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, 0 counts, then this is an even number. So 0 makes this an even number. So I'm going to write even next to my number. Even for this whole thing. Now, our smallest number, we have a 7. 7 is not a multiple of 2. So 7 makes this whole number an odd number. So we have our largest number up top, this number is even, and our smallest number at the bottom, this number is odd. Now we're going to use these two numbers to do the rest of the problem. First it asks, what is the difference and what is the sum of these two numbers? So difference means we have to subtract our numbers. Sum means we have to add our numbers. So go to a separate sheet of paper, we're going to add our numbers and then subtract them. Okay, so here is how we're going to set them up. On the left, we have them being subtracted. On the right, we have our numbers being added. And again, the most important thing when we are doing this is to line up the digits that have the same place value. So if our 1 is in the 10,000s place, we have to put it under the 6, which is in the 10,000s place. The 2's in the thousands place, which is under the 4 in the thousands place. Or if it helps you, you can just make sure your commas are lined up. So go ahead, pause the video and do this math, and then check back to find the answer. Alright, and here are our answers. Our difference, or subtracting them, made 751,743. And our sum was 776,677. And you will notice when we had to subtract, we had to do a lot of borrowing. So remember, if the top number is too small, for example 0, we can't subtract 7 from 0, so we had to borrow 1 from the one next door, and then the 0 became a 10. Then we had to borrow another 1 to subtract 6, and then we had to borrow again to subtract the 4. Alright, the next part of the problem said, what is the greatest decimal you can make? What is the smallest decimal you can make? So I think I'm going to make another place value chart, but this time my place value chart is going to have the decimal places in it. So the 10th place, the 100th place, the 1000th place. So when we're doing this, remember in class that we only went up to the thousandths place, thousandths with a TH. So our answers are only going to go as far as the thousandths place. Now, technically, you can make a decimal that goes to further decimal places than this, but we're only going to go to the thousandths place. So here is my new place value chart. This one includes the decimals. So I have hundreds, tens, ones, just like before, but now we have our decimal point. And after the ones place goes the tenths, then the hundredths, then the thousandths. So we're going to use these 6 place values now to come up with our biggest and smallest decimals. We do this the same exact way as before, going largest to smallest digits or smallest to largest digits. However, this time they'll just be in different place values. So we want to first come up with the largest decimal possible. So we would put our largest digit, 7, in our highest place value, which now is the hundredths place. Then we put our next digit in the tens place, which is 6. And we go on from there. So then we have 4, 2, 1, and 0. And make sure you put the decimal point in. So our highest decimal, knowing that we have to stop at the thousandths place, is 764 and 210 thousandths. That's how we say that number. 764 and 210 thousandths. Okay, now we need to make the smallest decimal possible. So we do the same thing but go smallest to largest for our digits. So we'll start with the 0 in the hundreds place. So there are no hundreds. Then we put the 1 in the tens, the 2 in the ones place, then the 4, the 6, and the 7. So our smallest decimal, let me put in the decimal point. Our smallest decimal is, since there's no hundreds, 12 and 467 thousandths. Again, we say 12 and 467 thousandths. Okay, and we are getting towards the end of the problem. Now we just have some adding and subtracting to do. We need to find 1,000 less than and more than our greatest and smallest numbers, and then 10,000 more than and less than our greatest and smallest numbers. So you can put aside your decimals, and we're going to need those original numbers, our largest and smallest numbers we made. So get another separate sheet of paper. We are going to start by adding and subtracting 1,000 from both these numbers, and then we're going to add and subtract 10,000. So first thing I want you to do is take those two numbers and add 1,000. So here's how I set it up. I have my largest number plus 1,000 and my smallest number plus 1,000. Now remember, we need to line up the commas. So all our place values are lined up. Our thousands places should line up, our hundreds places should line up, and so on. So go ahead, do these problems, and then check back for the answers. So that addition was pretty straightforward. Our biggest number plus 1,000 is 765,210. And our smallest number plus 1,000 is 13,467. Okay, we are going to repeat that. This time subtract 1,000. Here's how we can set it up. And just notice that when I wrote our smallest number, I didn't put that 0 out front because we don't need to write it. So just make sure that our numbers are lined up and then subtract these numbers. Again, this was pretty straightforward. We didn't have to borrow anything. So our difference with the largest number was 763,210. And our difference on the right was 11,467. Awesome. Now we have to repeat that process, but this time we're going to add and subtract 10,000. So here's how we can set them up. We are adding 10,000. You can see Miss B messed up a little bit right here, but I fixed it. So we are adding 10,000. Make sure our commas are still in the right spot and our numbers are lined up. Go ahead and add them, then check back to correct your work. Alright, so here we have our sums. Remember, sum is our answer to an addition problem. On the left, we have 774,210 On the right, 22,467. And the last part of the problem, we have to subtract 10,000. Here's our setup. We're going to subtract 10,000 from both our numbers. Go ahead, pause and try it for yourself, and then check back in a minute. Okay, our last two answers. These are called our differences. A difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So on the left, we have 754,210. And on the right, there's a 0 out front, which we don't need to say, 2,467. Wow, that was a lot of steps to the problem. Great work, and I will see you again tomorrow.